Turns out the person I was with wasn't being real with me. I'm finding out about secret DMs, saying I love you, moving sneaky behind my...
Y'all know that if y'all been hooking up, go get tested, because she been spreading herpes like it's a full-time job.
So the people who I'm talking to now, it's just two. I've narrowed it down to two. Okay. And he is nice and she is nice.
You both.
But I really just wanted to make sure that these were normal people. And what I talked about with my therapist the other day was, I'm having a hard time opening up because they're not narcissists.
Seriously, in my mind, I'm like, surely it's not Porsha. Like, this bitch right here knows she get more than a little bit. I mean, she's definitely hooked up with women, definitely. If she gets drunk, she becomes an aggressive lesbian.
Right.
Aggressive. Like, serious.
Just when fans thought Porsha Williams had finally settled into her happily ever after, the entire storyline flipped upside down overnight. What looked like a passionate, public love affair is now being dragged into the spotlight as something far messier, far darker, and allegedly far more calculated than anyone imagined. According to her own partner, Patrice McKenna, the relationship fans were rooting for was built on secrets, hidden messages, overlapping lovers, and accusations so explosive they've left social media completely stunned. And the wildest part? This isn't being whispered by bloggers or leaked by insiders. It's coming straight from inside the relationship. Patrice says she's done protecting Porsha's image, done staying quiet, and ready to expose what was really happening behind closed doors. And if even half of these claims are true, Porsha's carefully crafted image could be taking its biggest hit yet. Just when everyone thought Porsha Williams was finally living her soft life love story out loud, the entire narrative imploded in real time. And it didn't come from bloggers, ex-friends, or shady insiders, but from the one person who was supposed to be closest to her. According to Patrice McKenna, the relationship fans were celebrating was allegedly built on lies, secret DMs, overlapping lovers, and betrayal happening right under her nose. Patrice claimed she discovered private messages sent behind her back. "I love you," texts meant for other women, and behavior she describes as calculated and sneaky rather than accidental. And before anyone could even process that, the allegations took an even darker turn. Patrice publicly warned anyone who may have been involved with Porsha to go get tested, alleging that Porsha knowingly exposed partners to herpes while continuing to move recklessly in these secret affairs. Let that sink in for a second. Not only cheating, but allegedly cheating without disclosure, without protection, and without regard for the people she was involved with. Patrice made it clear this wasn't a misunderstanding or a one-time slip. She framed it as a pattern she could no longer ignore or stay silent about. She said she was done protecting Porsha's image, done playing loyal while being disrespected, and done pretending what was happening behind closed doors didn't exist. And that's what made this hit so hard. This wasn't tea spilled for clout or attention. This was a partner saying she finally snapped. The same relationship people thought was solid, loving, and drama-free was suddenly being painted as something entirely different. And as Patrice's words spread online, Porsha's carefully curated image started taking hits in real time. Fans who were rooting for her were left stunned, confused, and scrambling to reconcile the woman they thought they knew with the accusations now circling her name. Because if Patrice is telling the truth, this wasn't just messy, it was dangerous. And only after that bombshell does the question even come up. How did a relationship that looked so public, so affectionate, and so happy unravel this badly this fast? From the outside looking in, Porsha and Patrice were being sold as that couple. The one that moved fast, loved loud, and didn't care who was watching. They were everywhere together, glued at the hip, posting nonstop, and making it very clear that this wasn't some quiet fling. Porsha didn't just soft-launch Patrice. She hard-launched her with captions full of affection, inside jokes, and promises to act up. For Patrice's birthday, Porsha went all the way in, gushing publicly about how special she was and backing it up with expensive gifts, jewelry, and quality time that screamed commitment. They traveled together, showed up together, and moved like two people who had no reason to hide anything. Fans couldn't stop talking about how happy Porsha looked, how free she seemed, and how she appeared to finally be embracing love without fear. And that's what made it feel so real. It all happened fast, intense, and very publicly, which convinced people this was genuine and solid, not something messy or temporary. But according to Patrice, while fans were busy celebrating what looked like a fairy tale, a completely different story was unfolding behind scenes. She alleges that during this same period of public affection and gift-giving, Porsha was secretly involved with multiple other women at the same time. Not past situations, not old flings resurfacing, overlapping relationships happening while Patrice believed they were exclusive. Patrice claims she uncovered secret DMs, emotional exchanges, and behavior that suggested Porsha was telling more than one woman the same things, moving quietly and deliberately so no one would compare notes. And that's where the betrayal cuts deeper, because Patrice isn't describing a mistake fueled by temptation. She's describing a system, a pattern of juggling partners, hiding conversations, and presenting one version of herself publicly while operating very differently in private. According to Patrice, this wasn't about confusion or exploring, it was about deception, and once she started connecting the dots, she says the entire relationship suddenly made sense in the worst way. As these claims started spreading, the internet did what it always does. It froze, rewound, and collectively said, "Wait, what?" People were genuinely stunned because this relationship was brand new and, up until that moment, seemingly joyful. There were no warning signs, no public fallouts, no messy subtweets hinting at trouble. Fans had just gotten comfortable with the idea of Porsha finally being happy, finally settled, finally in something that felt healthy. So the emotional whiplash was real. Comment sections filled up fast with disbelief, confusion, and disappointment, especially from people who had been rooting for her. Some couldn't wrap their heads around how someone could move so publicly in love while allegedly moving so privately in betrayal. Others started rewatching old clips and rereading captions, wondering what they missed and whether the signs were always there. The shock wasn't just about cheating. It was about how convincing the illusion had been. And once that disbelief settled, another uncomfortable conversation resurfaced. This isn't the first time Porsha has faced accusations like this. Long before Patrice, her ex-husband Simon had made similar claims during their divorce, accusing her of being unfaithful and asking the court to address whether she had been intimate with other people during their marriage. At the time, those allegations were brushed off by many as bitterness from a breakup, especially since Porsha quickly moved on and the narrative shifted. But after Porsha went public with Patrice, Simon added fuel to the fire by claiming she had also been involved with women during their marriage, something he admitted he didn't even register as cheating at the time. Looking back now, those old accusations suddenly feel less random and more like early warning signs. When you line them up with Patrice's claims, a familiar pattern starts to emerge, not as a definitive conclusion, but as a question that's getting harder to ignore. And that's where things get uncomfortable, because what once sounded like isolated drama is now starting to look like a cycle that keeps repeating itself, just with different partners and higher stakes each time. Once people started digging deeper, an old storyline resurfaced that made this entire situation feel uncomfortably familiar. The infamous Candy Burris saga. Back then, Porsha positioned herself as the victim, accusing Candy and Todd of having inappropriate intentions and painting a picture of herself being targeted and uncomfortable. She went as far as suggesting there were secret plots, hidden agendas, and situations she claimed crossed boundaries. But the narrative shifted dramatically when Candy finally clapped back with what she said were actual receipts. Candy publicly stated that Porsha was the one who initiated the interaction, claiming Porsha came on to her, kissed her, and pushed for something more. And it didn't stop at words. Candy revealed text messages allegedly sent by Porsha after a wild night out, messages that made it clear Porsha wanted whatever happened to stay off camera and between them. That contradiction, fear on camera, flirtation in private, stuck with viewers long after the season ended. At the time, people debated who was telling the truth, but now, With Patrice's allegations echoing similar themes of secrecy and double lives, those old moments are being re-examined in a very different light. What once felt like messy reality TV drama is now being reframed as a possible glimpse into a pattern of behavior that never really stopped. And that's where the irony gets hard to ignore. Publicly, Porsha has faced criticism over the years for comments and behavior that many felt were dismissive, uncomfortable, or outright disrespectful toward gay women. She's been accused of shaming, of making homophobic remarks, and of distancing herself from same-sex relationships unless it benefited her narrative. Yet privately, she's repeatedly been linked to alleged hookups with women, often followed by denial, deflection, or public condemnation of those same women. That disconnect, allegedly engaging behind closed doors while shaming in public, is what has people side-eyeing her credibility now more than ever. It creates a jarring contrast between the persona she presents and the behavior she's being accused of, and that contradiction is fueling a lot of the outrage and discussion online. To many, it feels less like confusion and more like convenience, depending on which version of the story serves her best in the moment. But just when the conversation seemed like it couldn't escalate any further, Patrice dropped what became the most jaw-dropping moment of all. In a public statement framed as a warning rather than revenge, Patrice urged anyone who may have been involved with Porsha to go get tested. She alleged that Porsha has herpes and knowingly exposed partners while continuing to engage in sexual relationships. The internet went dead silent for about 2 seconds and then absolutely exploded. This wasn't just tea anymore. It was a public health allegation, and people immediately understood the seriousness of what was being claimed. Patrice didn't frame it as gossip or speculation. She framed it as concern, saying people deserve to know and protect themselves. Carefully laced with allegedly, the accusation still landed like a bomb because of its implications. If true, this wasn't just about cheating, it was about trust, consent, and responsibility, and that's why the reaction was so intense. Even supporters who had defended Porsha up until that point started backing away, saying this crossed into territory that couldn't be brushed off as messy relationship drama. And then came the plot twist nobody saw coming. Despite the cheating claims, the resurfaced receipts, the public embarrassment, and the explosive STI allegations, insiders started whispering that Patrice wasn't walking away. In fact, sources claim the two are still together and actively trying to work things out. That revelation flipped the entire narrative on its head. People expected a breakup, a clean break, a dramatic exit. But instead, they got reconciliation rumors. Porsha even posted moments that appeared to show her doting on Patrice, cooking for her, doing things she reportedly never did for past partners. Suddenly, the exposure felt less like an ending and more like a power move, leaving people wondering whether Patrice speaking out was about closure, control, or clearing the field of competition. The debate online shifted instantly from, is this over, to why stay, and what's really going on behind the scenes? And that's where this story leaves us, stuck between accountability and chaos. Is Porsha finally being forced to confront patterns she's been accused of for years? Or is this just another scandal that will eventually fade until the next one replaces it? Is Patrice choosing forgiveness? Or is something else keeping her tied to a situation that's already caused public damage? With Porsha, every chapter seems to end on a cliffhanger, and just when people think they understand her, another twist rewrites the script. One thing is clear. This isn't just about one relationship or one accusation. It's about a long, complicated history of contradictions, controversy, and unanswered questions. And if experience has taught fans anything, it's that this story is far from over.